Henry did not die with dignity. He did not die with the care he deserved. He lost consciousness before anyone believed him. Let me be absolutely clear. We hold Vikram Digwa solely and 100% responsible for the brutal murder of our son. But Henry should not have died on the streets of Southampton in police custody. The way he was treated was inhumane and degrading.
That was Henry Nowak's father on Monday, and we play that because it got very little attention because his son was white. Unlike George Floyd, when George Floyd said the words, "I can't breathe," 6 years ago while overdosing on drugs, the world came to a stop. Those 3 words became the rallying cry for rioting, looting, and murder during the summer of 2020, all to honor a criminal drug addict. But 6 years later, when an innocent white man, an 18-year-old named Henry Nowak, is stabbed to death by a guy named Vikram Digwa, a Sikh man in Britain who told police that Nowak had knocked off his turban, police not only didn't believe him, they arrested Henry. They handcuffed Henry, who died minutes later in police custody. That was in December. And no one ever heard a word about Henry Nowak until Monday, when the turban-wearing Sikh who killed him was found guilty of murder. Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, was literally on his knees for George Floyd just days after he died, but didn't say a word about Henry Nowak, who died in his own country until this week. Do you think maybe there is a cultural and political double standard happening here? We certainly do. Winston Marshall is a Grammy Award-winning rock star and former member of Mumford and Sons. He left the band after being pressured to censor his political beliefs. Winston, we appreciate you being here. In your view, is there any comparison between George Floyd and Henry Nowak?
Well, first, I'll just correct one thing that's important. The police didn't come because Digwa's turban was knocked off. The police came because Digwa and his brother called them and told them that they were the victims of racist abuse. There is no evidence of that. In fact, it was them who had stolen Nowak's phone. The police cuffed Nowak, an 18-year-old boy, a white boy, and I don't normally bring up the race, but it's relevant here because the accusation of racism now seems to trump all things. You'll watch, I'm sure your viewers have now seen the released bodycam footage showing the boy being cuffed, telling the police officer, I've been stabbed, and the police officer saying, "I don't think you have, mate." Almost scoffing, it's almost borderline like smirking.
Is mate, Winston, when somebody says mate, sorry to interrupt you, but I've actually been wondering about this, and I asked somebody else and they couldn't give me an answer. Is that like me calling somebody chief or pal or like buddy?
Yeah,
over
it'd be
here,
like
mate?
saying pal or bud. Don't think you have, bud.
So it's almost condescending. It's almost like he's not even taking it seriously, that this guy's been stabbed 4 times and is bleeding out.
It's in no way taking it seriously. That's exactly right. And the story here, though, is that you say it's a double standard. We call it 2-tier policing.
Right.
What has happened, and this actually goes back to George Floyd. Of course, George Floyd, a big event in your country. For some absurd reason, it was a big event in our country, even though, whatever you think about George Floyd, it had nothing to do with Britain. And yet, there were riots. There were police officers taking the knee. There was unbelievable looting. Why were they looting in Britain? What did they have anything to do with what was going on in Minneapolis?
Right.
But more critically here, there was some police reform done in Britain. This started in 2022 with the Police Race Action Plan. But in 2025, the Police Race Action Plan under Keir Starmer was updated and included, almost taken verbatim from Ibram X. Kennedy, the Lord of Woke.
Right.
I don't know what sort of East.
Let me, Winston, let me just read that. So UK police, and this is a quote, while this tragic event happened in another country, policing across the UK has for many years had a strained relationship with some communities. We will pursue offenders and deal with offenses that most harm our ethnic minority communities. Essentially, the police were trained to be racist against white people in Britain. Is that what that says? That's how I read it.
It doesn't explicitly say be racist against white people. So that specific quote you've got up there is from the local police, which is relevant to where the Nowak murder happened.
Right,
but there is nationwide police policy which says it is not enough to be anti-racist, one has to be proactively anti-racist. Not only that, it says one must not be colorblind. It says explicitly one must not treat everyone the same. They talk about equity instead of equality. They want equal results, which means the police are told not to treat everyone the same. And by everyone, they mean different groups. And here they're talking about minority groups in the classic woke oppressed minority groups in comparison with the apparently oppressor white groups. And that is part of the, look, ultimately, Digweed is the murderer here. Yeah. It comes down to him. Ultimately, he is the guy who has done this evil. But the story it's animating the country, angering the country.
Let me ask you about that. I've only got about
two-tier policing across the board.
Sorry to cut you off. Two questions on a Friday night. England is a tinderbox right now. Nigel Farage, he tweeted out that we should respond with pure, cold rage. And he's referring to white people taking their country back. Do you think that's appropriate?
He's not referring to white people. He's not referring to white
Britons?
people. He's talking about patriots, and that doesn't mean white people.
Yeah.
He is talking about people who love their country and who believe in equality. And by the way, Nigel Farage, he has been treated worse than the murderer. The media, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, all of the House of Commons, all of the politicians, they were shouting at him, lambasting him, as if he had committed the murder, because he was saying there is two-tier policing in this country, and if it doesn't stop, the people will stop believing in the state. Then we'll have real anarchy.
Winston, just one more. I've only got a few seconds. Why haven't these police officers all been arrested? For the life of me, I don't understand it. I know there's different laws in Britain, but why haven't these police officers been arrested?
There's definitely demand for it. The thing that's so galling is it does seem like they were sort of following their policy. So it's a tricky one, and we'll see, but there's definitely a big movement for these specific individuals involved with the arrest of Nowak, the dying boy. There may well be repercussions for them.
All right, Winston Marshall, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you making it work with the time change. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.